Okay, hello everyone. Welcome. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Have you taken our poll yet? 85% of you have. And let's see, we're looking at most of you using Facebook actively, reading blogs. These numbers should not be too surprising, but keep these in mind as we proceed with today's presentation. I'm going to end polling now. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, welcome again. You are here for digital marketing mistakes, right? Yes. And I wanted to make some qualifications before we start. So hopefully when you signed up, you read the description clearly. Today's webinar, which will be about an hour, it'll be, not too long. Today's webinar is really a basic webinar. This is not advanced digital marketing. This is not even intermediate. This is basic digital marketing. So in the description, we mentioned this is a good fit for entrepreneurs who are really less comfortable using digital marketing and social media. You're just starting off, maybe you're dabbling, you're confused about content, you're confused a little bit about the how, the why, the when. That's really what we'll be talking about today in the forms of what not to do, because that's kind of fun, right? So that is who this presentation is right for. If that's not you, if you're really comfortable, you're here looking for more advanced tips, we have other workshops for you, and you can check our event calendar for that. I don't mind if you hop off. We want to make sure that your time is used well. We know your time is valuable as an entrepreneur, okay? So for today, I will be presenting and also doing my own moderation. So for efficiency's sake, we have everyone muted. And if you have questions, I really encourage them, and I'll try to get to them during the presentation as best as I can. And the best place is to put them in the Q&A. That will let me get to them more easily. All right. So hopefully most of you are familiar with the Temple Small Business Development Center. We are part of the Pennsylvania SBDC network, and we offer largely no-cost services, consulting and training that is being done virtually these days. We may move back into in-person in the near future, but for now we're still doing everything on Zoom, via phone calls, and almost all of our services are of no cost. This is a nice breakdown of everything that we do, and I'll go over some upcoming events that might be relevant for you at the end. And if you have any questions about our services, generally I can answer those at the end as well. This is me today. This is the rundown of today's agenda. We'll be talking about why even bother focus on digital marketing. And again, those top 5 mistakes to avoid, just 5, easy, right? And then more Q&A if I didn't get to it during. All right, now let me check and see if there are any questions currently. I don't see any. Okay, so we may have already answered this a little bit. It's kind of rhetorical, isn't it? Do you use the internet to find goods or services? 77% of you use Facebook, whether you like it or not. There are ads, right? There are people selling things. Both of those things exist. So probably, maybe you have seen an ad that targeted you and you bought something. You know, I do it. I don't mind it even. They get what I like. They even know what I like before I know what I like. So for better or for worse, this exists. This is the reality. There's nothing we can do to change it. As business owners, we have to make it work to our advantage, right? And by the way, it's not the case that our phones are listening to us. This is just an aside. I read about this recently. They are scrolling through your history, obviously, so they know all the choices that you've made. But when you get close to another person, they can pick up on the choices that that person has made. So that's why it seems like, oh, you were talking about golfing and golf clubs came up. It's really because that other person you were next to was looking up golf clubs. Anyway, so it's not that they're listening, but it's even worse than that, or better, whichever. That's just an aside. All righty. Why is this so important? We have business owners who've maybe been doing their craft or their work for a long time, for decades, and they still are hesitant to maybe join the world of digital marketing, and it seems scary. It seems like a lot, but it's pretty important, especially now with, you know, we're still, I wouldn't say we're post-pandemic, but we're kind of towards the end-ish, right? And so much is happening virtually, digitally, right? It is so important to have that presence. And why? We're connecting with existing customers. We're reminding them, hey, you liked us, remember, come back. We're attracting new customers. And this one is sometimes overlooked. We're demonstrating competency. So at this point, it's 2021. It is more or less an expectation that if you are a small business owner, if you are a business, small, large, medium, you have a web presence, you have a digital presence. And not having that, whether it's conscious or not, it sets something off with the customer. Maybe this is not that professional of a business, right? So it's become a little bit of a standard that people want to see that, to trust you. Another reason is because while you are promoting yourself, you can also do research and see what everyone else is doing. If you like it, you can kind of copy it. Nothing wrong with that. It's a place to gather and share new ideas. So it is now the standard of how people communicate with each other, and it is free, right? I mean, your time is money, so it's not completely free. And sometimes you want to put a little money into it to boost it. But it's two-way conversation and a way to appear professional. Make sense? Questions so far? I don't think so. Let me look. I don't think so. Okay, this is about a year old, but still pretty accurate. What are we looking at in terms of monthly active users? Millions, 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 right? And Facebook, the biggest, and that checks out with what everyone said on their poll. So we look at that and we use this as a groundwork to make our decision about which platforms to spend our time in. But this is not the only factor that we look at. Brings me to mistake number one: no target market analysis. Maybe you have dabbled in a business plan. I really hope you have. If not, we have classes for you and we have consultants, right? So this target market analysis is going to be part of your business plan. And it will include a breakdown of who your customer is. This is so important to do this. This is important to do this because this is going to inform your marketing efforts, and that means your time and your money, okay? So you're not Google, you're not Nike, your audience isn't everyone. Sometimes we have small business customers, small business clients coming to us and they say, oh, this is such a great product, what I do, this is such a great service. Everyone is my target market. Okay, that's nice in theory, but what that means is your marketing time and your marketing dollars will be spread so thin. So it's crucial to do yourself the favor and narrow it down. Think about the age, think about their hobbies, their household income. The more you narrow it down, the better you can target your marketing efforts. And that doesn't mean that you won't have outliers. That doesn't mean that you won't have customers who come from totally outside it, but it just means that you have a focus, okay? And then this is a little, an addition with the pandemic. Has this demographic group changed? Have their needs changed? Are their needs different, right? So you could think about maybe you were a restaurant and you had a certain type of client. Maybe it was young couples in their late 20s and they came to your restaurants and they had fancy cocktails. And then during the pandemic, they weren't doing that. What could you do to meet those needs of your target market? You could offer fancy provisions, fancy cheeses, maybe nice wines, some special flour because everyone was baking breads, right? So that's a way to pivot, right? We hear the word pivot a lot. So that is an important exercise regardless of the age of your business, the size, the industry. You really want to have this target market analysis, and then you take that information, and you can do a lot with it, but the next step is, okay, where does this group spend their time online? Okay, and that's where you go and you can do that research and see, okay, this demographic is really on Facebook, or this demographic is really on Instagram or TikTok. So that is that next step in the analysis, and that is the way that you decide these are the platforms that are worth my time. You don't have to be everywhere. If Twitter doesn't make sense, you don't have to put your effort there, right? This is all time. This is all time is money. So that's how you make that decision, okay? I don't want you to feel the pressure that you have to be everywhere. You have to be on every platform, creating content, constantly posting. That's overwhelming. So we want to make sure that it's manageable, especially if you are a solo entrepreneur, you don't have people on your team who are devoted to marketing. That's the case with so many of our clients. So this is that next step. Target market. Where are they? Where are they in the digital marketing space? Go there, spend your time there. All right. Okay. Mistake number 2, not keeping in touch. So this takes the form of a lot of different bullet points. So it is really important, especially during this medium to late pandemic era, that you are keeping in touch with your customer, and you're doing it on all of your platforms, okay? So you are, with all the changes in regulations, our customers could be a little confused. Things are changing, right? What's open, what's not open, mask, not mask, what's happening, indoors, outdoors. So you, as a business, can make life easier and more comfortable for your customer by putting all that information on all of your platforms, right? Because you don't know where they're looking. Maybe they want to check your hours on Facebook. Maybe they want to check it on your Google listing. So you want to make sure, oh, I see a question. Let me try and get to it. What are some resources that will show stats for different social media? Oh, that's a good question. There is one called Statistica. I'll look that up at the end and I'll post that for you. Right, so you want to make sure that you are in charge of all of your listings. So Google yourself, Google your business. Maybe you didn't realize that you're on Yelp, right? So you want to make sure that you know all where you are located on the internet. And then you want to take ownership of it. For example, there's Google My Business, and everybody, if you have a business and it's set up, you're in operation, you want to really make sure that you have taken ownership of that listing. You can fill out a form. I believe they email you. No, sorry, they mail something to your address to confirm that you are who you say you are. You get a code, you put that in, and then you have control over that little box that's on the right-hand corner whenever you Google a business. And you want to do that because then you can add pictures, you can even add reviews, you can add updates, but most importantly, hours of operation. This is just so crucial. And just things about what, what's going on? Like, are you doing, is there masks? Is the mask ban off in your neighborhood, but you still want to require masks because maybe you have, maybe you're a pharmacy and you have immunocompromised folks, and whatever it is, just put it out there so there are no surprises when people come to your door. This is not the time to let people guess. This is the time to put it out there and put it everywhere and make sure it is consistent. Okay, this is important. And safety measures. Safety measures, it would be a great thing to post. And it's also a decent, and it kind of could be fun content. We'll talk about that shortly. All right, so mistake number 3 is, speaking of content without strategy. It is very important that you look at your digital marketing platforms as not as a sales pitch. You do not want to look at them as a sales pitch. You want to, because we see that. We see that as consumers, and we pick up on it subtly. And if a business is too self-promotional, we don't love it. We don't love that. So what do you want to do instead is you want to be a resource. So if you are, let's say you are a jewelry maker, okay? So maybe you want to do some behind the scenes of, oh, here's an easy way to make a beaded hoop earring. You want people to have other reasons to come to you. You want to be a trusted source of information. That is the best way to establish a strong digital marketing presence, is to be an informative resource for your industry, okay? And you want to just be a good community member. You may have, you may be part of a community. You might be in a neighborhood where there are other businesses. Talk about the other businesses, support the other businesses. That is great, great content. So there's an etiquette. You gotta give to receive. You also can't be constantly posting and not really interacting or communicating, because like I said earlier, it is that two-way street. It's not just you're throwing things out there. You want to be responsive. You want to, if somebody is posting something about you, you want to interact. You want to encourage that engagement. All right, so content without strategy is what we're talking about. And similarly on this topic, we got questions about responding to positive and negative comments or reviews in the right way. So I think generally positive comments, you want to say, awesome, thanks for sharing, so glad you had a great experience. Maybe you even want to ask if you can capture that photo or that statement for your use, for you to reshare on your platforms. Now, negative comments, trickier, right? The key, and I want to see maybe you could get a show of hands if you were well aware of the key. The key is to bring the conversation offline, off of the public realm as soon as possible. That's the key to negative comments. Yeah, some people, okay, got some hands raised. Good, yes. So hopefully you've seen this done right, and maybe you've seen this done wrong. But if people start saying anything, the most professional way is to say, I'm sorry for your experience. Please give me a call, blah, 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 right? Unless the comment is so obviously not about your business, because unfortunately that does happen, right? Maybe you have Paul's Clam Bar and there are 3 of them, in your state, and they're just reviewing a different one and they're talking about a lobster roll that was horrible and made them vomit, but you've never served a lobster roll. So that's the kind of thing that you could say publicly. You could say, I'm so sorry you had this experience. We do not offer lobster rolls. I believe you are reviewing the wrong business. So you can do that. All right, so talking about content a little more in depth about the what not to share. And I've changed how I talk about this a little bit over the past few years. Usually we like to tell businesses to avoid a lot of potentially controversial statements coming from their business as opposed to from the business owner, things on politics, things about religion, things about the social situation. And it's just so intense right now. And if you feel like your business has part of a social mission and it would be an error for you to stay silent, then maybe that is something that you can share about if you do it in a careful and considerate way. All right, you know what I'm talking about. It applies to many things right now. So if there's a way to do it that is that seems honest to who you are, right? That's your authentic self, but it's really the authentic voice of the business, then maybe that makes sense to do. But just make sure that you are respectful, really, because I think we've all heard stories of businesses saying one thing and then people go crazy and then they're blowing up their phones and they really can't do business. So we don't want to be that, right? Okay, so alternatively, what can we share? We know that for some businesses who just are newer to the digital marketing experience, it's confusing to know what makes good content. Do you have good content? Does anybody care, right? It gets a little tricky. So here are some things to consider. And this goes back to my point about being a beacon of information in your industry. So articles and advice. And these could be articles that you've written, or maybe these could be articles that that you found that are relevant. And A little bit later, I'll show you an easy way to gather articles so that you're not always searching. Advice, like I said, how-to videos and photos, obviously we like them, everyone likes them, we need them. So you can share tips, industry trends, and like I said, those how-to videos, super cute, you know, a little quick video on how to do something behind the scenes, pictures and videos, there you go. Photos of happy customers, products, I think I said mass, but you know, that was from an older presentation. Behind the scenes showing safety measures. I still think that this is a good one. I like that. It's people really like behind the scenes, so you might as well kind of show what safety measures that you're still taking, because people still care. Specials, that's an obvious one. New items, deals, coupons, any news, holiday specials. And then, like I said before, you want to see what other businesses are doing, and you can learn from them. And you can also be creative and try things out and see what's getting a good response. So maybe you're doing a mini interview with your teammates and that's doing really well. So it becomes a monthly series that you do, right? So you do want to have strategy, right? Content strategy, and you want to be checking in and see what are people liking? What are people responding to? All right, let's see. Questions? Okay, not seeing any. All right, so for our fourth marketing mistake, ignoring basic SEO. Ooh, SEO, scary. Where I am not an SEO expert. I will not claim to be, but there are some basics that are common sense. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. What does this mean? This means that you are making your website, so your digital presence, your key digital presence is your website, right? And you want to make your website attractive to Google. That's really the bottom line of SEO. You're making your website in a way that makes Google happy. How do we do this? Well, first, why do we do this? Because you want to be on the first page of Google, right? You want to be on the first page of Google. When you Google, let's say you're a dog groomer and you Google dog groomer Philadelphia, that's what people are gonna Google, right? That's what they will type in. You want to be on the first page. That's where you want to be, of course. So how do we get there? Obviously, you can hire companies to really get that SEO down to a level that I can't even speak to. But this is just to help you understand some of the basics and some things that you can actually do on your own, especially if you are able to edit your website. So you want your website to be easy to use. Maybe you call a friend over and you say, hey, pull up my website. Show me how you would go about using it, and watch and see where they click to, right? See if it's easy to find the contact page. See if it's easy to find your prices. If it's not, change it. New content is another SEO good thing. So new content could usually be updates to your website, but a blog is a way to do that kind of easily because you don't have to mess with the rest of your website. So a lot of websites have blogs, and how do I say this? Not everyone is always reading them. You know, not everyone reads blogs these days, especially like for businesses. You know, they don't always read them. Maybe some people do, but why are businesses doing it? Because then you have new content all the time, and that makes Google happy. And then also you can take that content and you can use it on your other digital marketing platforms, right? So you have your blog and then you put something on Instagram and Facebook, and then you get to have content on all your social media marketing channels. So it is win-win. Sensible keyword use. So another part of getting on the first page of Dog Groomer Philadelphia is that you want your website to say Dog Groomer Philadelphia, maybe more than once, not a million times, because Google will see right through that and say, no, you're cheating. So don't do that. But you want to have those keywords in there. Let's say your dog grooming shop is called Sally's Cuts. I don't know. How is anyone going to know that that's a dog grooming business in Philadelphia? So you might want to say Sally's Cuts at the top, and then you have a header, and where the words are located on the page actually matters. The higher up the text is located, the more value it will be given in terms of the SEO calculation. So let's say it says Sally's, what did I say? Sally's Cuts, and then below it, it says in the subtitle, dog groomer in Philadelphia. Okay, so you want to say that, and people are searching geographic specific terms more than ever. There's a huge increase in people saying not dog groomer, but dog groomer Philadelphia or dog groomer near me. That is how we search now. So you want to make sure that your website says Philadelphia a few times. Maybe you have it in the bottom, in the footer with your address, and then make sure that these words are not images. So this is not a graphic that says dog groomer Philadelphia. You actually have to have the text. Okay. You want to check and make sure that your website's mobile friendly. Of course, we know this. Everyone's on their phones now, especially when it comes to maybe a quick Google for a business. Google My Business. So I mentioned this earlier, a few slides ago. You want to take ownership of that Google listing. You want to make sure that you've edited it, that you've added stuff to it. And if you have questions about that, we can talk later. I'm happy to navigate you through it. It is really easy, and it's just a great, quick thing to do. All right. Does anyone have SEO questions? I can maybe answer them, but I just wanted to have you feel comfortable with it as a concept and know what it means generally. But again, if you want to guarantee that you're super tight in terms of SEO, you may have to hire a business to do that for you. All right, I'm not seeing questions about that. Mistake number 5 is wasting time. I mentioned earlier that I would go over a few tricks to help you with content, and I have some other kind of time wasting quick fixes. All right, so we know that you are busy. You're busy. You're wearing a lot of hats. You're a small business owner. We get it. And now we're telling you, on top of everything else, you have to take over your digital media presence, and you have to have social media accounts and have website updates, right? And so that could be overwhelming, and the finding content could be overwhelming, could be. How can we make that easier? How can we be more efficient? So the first tip that I like is Google Alerts. So with Google Alerts, you can just Google it and it will come up. Google Alerts, you are setting up keyword searches. So let's say that you are a tax, you're a tax, you're accountants, you're a small business, you do taxes, and you're called Philly Tax Girls. So you may want to set up alerts, and you may want to set up a few. So obviously your first alert will always be the name of your business. You want to know if anyone's talking about you, right? So you set that up. And then maybe you also want to share articles about any new interesting tax law that's coming up, because you want to be that beacon of information in your industry, right? Right. So instead of always having to search for new articles, you're setting it up so that when these keywords come up, any new news article that mentions these phrases, you will get notified via email. And you can set it up so it could be as they come in. So it could be as soon as there's an article, you get a notification, or it could be daily, or it could be weekly. So it's not too overwhelming. Great, love this. All right, we have some questions. Someone asked, how long does it take to get a card notification from Google Business? It's pretty quick. They'll mail that to you within a week. Okay, and this is a question related to the last mistake. Instead of a blog, would it be appropriate, beneficial to include new YouTube videos directly on the business website? So in terms of SEO and the algorithms, my understanding is that they cannot see. So if you have a picture or if you have a video, they cannot see it. They read words, right? So if you have a YouTube video and there's a description and the description have words, that could work. That's my very basic understanding, okay? So the video itself, I'm not sure that would trigger like that new active content, or same thing with the new picture, but if you have words to go with it, that might do the trick. All right, there was a question about Google Business active immediately. Yeah, so as soon as you get the postcard with the code, you'll go to the website and you'll put your code in, and then you can immediately change whatever you want on your Google profile. So let's say the hours are wrong, your website is wrong, there are old photos, you can change that immediately as soon as you get the postcard. All right. Okay. So we talked about Google Alerts. Hopefully everyone likes that tip, and if you haven't used that before, you set that up. This is just really helpful to have, even if you don't end up using it for content. You want to have a Google Alert for your business name. You really do. So another free resource that I use is called Feedly. So you see the website at top, up top, feedly.com. This is an RSS feed. I don't know if that means anything to you, but basically it's like instead of going to, this is set up for us, for the SBDC. We want to post great articles about interesting small business tips or whatever, right? So instead of me or our marketing person going to Forbes and going to Small Biz Daily and going to entrepreneur.com and going to all these websites whenever we need content, this platform lets you put all of your websites in one place, and then you can click through whenever you're ready and see what's new. Feedly.com. So that is, I think that's pretty helpful, because it's like, oh, right, I haven't checked Forbes today, or I haven't, right? So it puts it all in one place, and that you can have a free account with that. Let me see, was there a question? I'll get to that. Alrighty, so some other time-saving tips for you would be scheduling your posts. Okay, so this is, I do a Facebook workshop, and I think we actually have it recorded on our resource page. But one of my it's a very basic Facebook presentation, but one of my favorites, Basic Plus, like it's a little bit beyond the introductory, is scheduling, is knowing how to schedule posts. I think that this is so key for entrepreneurs who get overwhelmed with thinking about having to keep up with content every day, is picking, maybe it's one day a week, maybe it's Sunday night, and you are scheduling all your posts for the week. It's so nice to just give yourself the time. Maybe it's an hour, and then it feels less overwhelming because you say, okay, I'm going to devote an hour and I'm going to schedule my post for the week, and then it'll be done. I think that mentally it just feels better to have it contained like that. So you can schedule posts in Facebook directly. There's a way to do it. If you check out that recording, it'll show you how. You haven't done that yet. Hootsuite and Buffer are two programs that can do it for you, and they both have free versions. So if you don't have a ton of accounts, you probably can get by using the free versions of Hootsuite and Buffer. And with Hootsuite and Buffer, it's not just Facebook. You can also schedule tweets and I believe Instagram posts as well from those sites, so it could make it a lot easier for you. Now you see that it says careful of cross-posting. What that means is if you, as a time saver, decide to post the same thing on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, you have to recognize that the language and the formatting is slightly different. The way that we talk on these platforms is slightly different. The way we use hashtags is different, right? You don't want to put a ton of hashtags on Facebook. That looks weird. We don't do that. We do it on Instagram though. So just be a little cautious of cross-posting. If this is the only way that you can get content out to the platforms that you've already identified as important to your target market, okay, right? But if you have a little more time, try and edit so that each post is a little tweaked for the language of that platform. And I can't really go into that now, but we have done presentations on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook. So I would ask you to refer to those to maybe get more of a sense of that language that I'm talking about. But the best way, honestly, is just be a consumer of those platforms. You're on Facebook as a consumer, you're on Instagram as a consumer, and you're watching how people talk, how people post, how people communicate. That is just the best way to pick up on the subtleties of each specific platform. Now, You don't have to do it all yourself, right? You can get help. So students, college students, they have a lot of social media experience, right? They do, although it might not be on the business side, but that doesn't mean that you can't supervise them and have a student help you. So Handshake is a website where you can hire students. We have a lot of business ask about internships. My advice is to pay. My advice is to pay, even if it's a small stipend. You will get a better caliber candidate. You will have a lot more accountability, because what's stopping someone from just saying, you know what, nah, and then what are you gonna do? You're in trouble, right? So when you're paying them, you're compensating for their time. That usually works to your favor. All right, so that's student workers. Temple has a communication school. There are thousands and thousands of students looking for part-time social media positions. So you don't have to do it all on your own, and a little bit of payment will go a long way. You could also find freelancers. Upwork.com is a pretty easy platform to find freelancers. You can search based on their experience level, their satisfaction rate, and you can do it based on an hourly rate or based on a project. It's pretty useful. And obviously, of course, there are plenty of companies and small businesses locally and internationally that'd be happy to help you with your digital marketing presence if you so desire. And you can have a small arrangement, a larger arrangement if you want someone to do it all for you. Either way, if you're not going to DIY and you do want someone to do it for you, it is still important to know all the things that I just talked about, because how else are you going to know if they're doing a good job, right? So take that into consideration. Handshake, Upwork.com. These are my other time waste preventers. Okay, so that was, let's see, we're at 11:40. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mistakes, digital marketing mistakes to avoid. Okay, so now we're up to Q&A already. I'm going to ask you to post them in the Q&A as opposed to the chat, please. Okay, somebody asked, how do we get in touch with students at Temple? So Handshake, that website Handshake, is a really good way to hire students. You can also go to the departments directly. So let's say you want to hire a communication student or an art student, you could go to, there are more than a dozen colleges within Temple with specific specialization. So you could potentially go to like the Klein School and try to talk to their their academic advisor, and they may be able to point you to some more specific places to post for jobs. All right, answered that one. Pinterest, can scheduling be used for, I believe Pinterest has scheduling tools. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that they do. Another tool that I did not mention is called IFFTT, and it is, how do I explain this? It is a tool that helps connect things. For example, every time I post on Instagram, connect it to my Pinterest. So that's pretty cool. And there are so many different ones like that. Every time I do this, this happens. So it's like an API or something like that, but they have them pre-made. So it's user generated, they pre-make these connections. You can actually do that. I was doing that for a while, where anytime I posted on Instagram, it would directly post to a specific Pinterest board. Pretty cool, right? Okay, next question. What resources are available to help me map my website and good examples of good SEO? Okay, so it sounds like this question is asking about specifics for their website, and I'm happy you brought that up, because we have a program at the Temple SBDC that is a digital transformation center, and we can actually work with you, and we have students, faculty, staff that can work with you on your specific website. So definitely reach out to us, the SBDC, and ask to be connected with the digital transformation center, and we can help you with your specific website needs. So thanks for asking that, because I almost didn't mention that. What can we expect to pay for student social media help? Are there guidelines for marketing services cost? Oh, that's a great question. Oh, and then someone else mentioned there's a Pinterest scheduler called Tailwind. So I'll post that in the chat. One moment. All right, so Pinterest scheduler equals Tailwind. Someone mentioned ClickUp. I haven't heard of them. Sorry. Someone else, are there resources to make websites more accessible, to make it screen reader friendly? I think that, I'm trying to remember, I know that there are some accessibility assistance groups. I feel like Comcast was doing something like that. I don't know any off the top of my head though, but I can try to remember to research that and send that in a follow-up email. Someone asked me to post the tool. Let me look up the letter so I get that correct. This was the connector tool. I believe it is IFF. Give me a minute to pull it up. IFFTT, is that? Yeah, so it's TTT equals connector tool. Okay. And so continue to post questions, please. And before you head out, I would also like to ask you to complete the survey for today. And this helps us continue to offer free programming for you. So it's really important that we get these surveys. I'm going to put that in the chat while you post more questions. Give me a moment to grab that. All right. And if you do have to head out for today, that's no worries. Thank you so much for joining. I am going to pull up my presentation quickly to just share some other upcoming events. Oh, of course, connect with us on social media. We love to share content from our clients. So if you connect with us and maybe there is a special or something cool that you've done that you'd like to share, we would love to share it. We have so many clients, we can't always see what everyone's doing on their platforms. But if you have anything and you bring it to our attention, you tag us, we are so happy to share that. So we have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have LinkedIn. And then, like I mentioned, we have some other upcoming webinars that might be of use to you. If you're an entrepreneur starting out and you have questions about health insurance, it seems a little intimidating, we have a webinar for that coming up. The pitch deck is a two-day workshop that we're doing. That's a really great one. If you don't have a business plan yet, it really helps spell out all the different components of a business plan and makes it into a nice, neat pitch format. There's another one to create as a follow-up to today, how to create wow social media posts. And then we're doing one on legal considerations of branding. So those are all this month. We have a ton more. These are a few that I just wanted to highlight. So I wanted to put that up on the screen just before anybody had to head out. And please, again, fill out the survey. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I will stick around to answer more of your questions, though. But if you have to go, thank you so much, and hope to see you again at another one of our training sessions. All right. If I live in New Jersey, can I still use your SBDC resources? Great question, Karen. So you can attend any of our webinars, but in terms of that one-on-one consulting, you would want to work with your local SBDC. So Rutgers has one in South Jersey. That might be the closest one for you. Can I post the tool? Yeah, so I just posted that. It's IFTTT. So for Laura, I just posted that. That one. Okay, so there are some questions about the cost of marketing services. That's a tricky one because they vary so much. I mean, you could pay a student $12 an hour, you could pay a company thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's almost like excuse me, figure out your budget first, and then you can find a solution to fit that budget. That would be my my thought there. And if you are working on your marketing budget, that is certainly something that you can talk to one of our consultants with one-on-one. We can go over your budget overall, and that can include your marketing budget. Thank you, Laura. Great introduction. After hearing this, I think I can do it. I love it. That's what I like to hear. Excellent. Thank you so much for saying that. How to attach pictures on Facebook. Okay, so for Rosa, I would direct you to the Facebook Basics webinar that I did, and I will actually I will post a link to that resource page that I mentioned for everyone that has our recordings of previous webinars that we've done, including Facebook Basics, where we talk about how to post pictures. It also has links to upcoming webinars and other resources related to COVID, grants, things like that. Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate the comment. Oh, all right. Let me answer Laura's questions about the statistics. I'll pull up that website for you. Oh, Statista. Okay, here it is. So that website about social media that I mentioned earlier. That's to answer that older question from Laura. Okay, I think that I've gotten to all the questions. What do we think? Are there any more? I think I answered all of them. So we will be sending a follow-up to all attendees within 3 to 5 business days. And that will also include the survey again, in case you didn't get it. If you have any questions, did I put up my information? Let me get that up for you again. I'll put my email in the chat, actually. That seems easy enough. Now remember that we have consultants who can work with you one-on-one on your marketing plan. We're not going to be able to do the social media marketing, the digital marketing for you, but we can work on that plan with you, and we can help you connect to some of the resources that we mentioned. Maybe decide whether getting help makes sense with your budget, with where you're at. Those are all things that we can do with our one-on-one consulting at the SBDC, which again is a no-cost service to you. And I think we're going to wrap up for today because I'm not seeing any more questions. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great rest of your day. Please share something today. If you have social media channels and maybe there's something that you learned, share a tip and then tag us. That's content, instant content, right? I would love to see that. So I'll end it on that. Thank you all, and have a good rest of your day.